Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If Karmic Gacha system in Modern Family World. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 331, New Year Party Concert Part 7. Edward POV. Let's not tell anyone about this for now, Haley said as she changed into the casual clothes she had worn earlier. Her green sequin dress was ruined during our escapades and she had already tossed it in the trash. Lying shirtless on the bed, I watched her fix her hair and makeup in front of the large mirror. Why? I asked, curious about her desire to keep our relationship a secret. Haley walked slowly back toward me, jumped onto the bed, and kissed me on the lips. I don't want anyone to know because they'll try to get involved, and I'd rather not deal with that. There's not much time left, and I want the rest of it to be just for us. Do you get what I'm saying? I nodded slightly. I get it. I leaned in and kissed her again. It's just too bad. Having a hot boyfriend and not being able to show off. Haley raised an eyebrow, surprised, and pinched me playfully, tickling me in the process. Shouldn't it be having a hot girlfriend? I'm the one who needs to show off. I laughed, rolling away from her on the bed and quickly standing up in just my boxers. I mean, you're cute and all, but I'm definitely cuter. Come here. She chased me in mock anger until her phone rang. Oh, damn, they're already in the car, she muttered, pouting. I grabbed her hand, pulled her close, and gave her one long kiss. As we separated, I looked into her eyes and smirked. Once I'm done with the party, I'll sneak into your room. So don't go to sleep until I'm there. I whispered. No, I'm going to sleep, Haley said with a mischievous smile. I already got what I wanted. Your body doesn't have value anymore. Oh really? I asked, laughing. She giggled and replied teasingly, yeah, for real pal. I'll leave you some money on the nightstand and sneak out before you wake up. You'll never see me again. So I'm a prostitute now? I laughed. She eyed me up and down. You definitely have the makings of a male gigolo. You don't have to add male. That term is exclusively for men, I said before sighing at the goodbye. I want to spend more time with her, but now, it seems that time is our greatest challenge. She whispered coyly, I'll come to your house tomorrow. And I'll wait for you, I whispered back. She gave me a goodbye kiss before heading off to meet her parents. I should say goodbye to them, I muttered as I put on a solid brown sweatshirt and comfy pants. It was the third outfit change for me that night, and the last. I walked to the car park where the entire extended family was gathered, minus Lily, who stayed home with the babysitter. Haley looked flabbergasted when she saw me there and quickly turned her face away, wanting to get into the car, which made her parents misunderstand the situation. I laughed wryly and said to the family, thank you all for coming to the party. I hope you had a nice time. Luke smiled mischievously. I definitely did. Manny sighed. I missed the entire party because Luke wanted to get the top score in Space Invaders. Hey, you played it too, Luke retorted. Are there any other games there? I asked Luke. There's a lot. Even a punching machine. I got 300 on the score. I got 302, Manny added with a teasing smirk. Luke grimaced. No one asked you about it. Gloria rushed over and hugged me. Edward. Don't be sad. She pressed my face into her chest dramatically, saying, there's still a chance. Confused at first, I responded calmly, I'm not sad. He'll get over it. He's tough, Phil said with teary eyes before giving me a hug too. He looked at me seriously. I still have one more daughter. Dad. Alex interrupted, pulling him away. So, everyone knows, huh? I finally understood the situation and smiled slightly. To them, it looked like I was forcing myself to smile. I glanced at Haley, who suddenly shook her head, mouthing, not me, to clarify she hadn't told them anything, but I could have guessed that one of them overheard me asking Haley out if they were reacting like this. Claire was silent for a moment, her eyes filled with complicated thoughts. Finally, she hugged me and said, "Cheer up, Edward. You'll be on stage after this. We wish we could stay, but I think we need to leave." I guess Claire felt Haley wanted to leave the party, so she brought her family back with her to make things less awkward. Cam said, "Yeah, Lily must have been anxious. It's the first time we've left her for this long." Mitchell added, "Yes, we're leaving because of Lily. Nothing else." Jay, still drunk, blurted out, "I thought we were leaving because he got rejected." Jay. You've lost your mind from drinking too much. Vamos, we need to go home so you can sleep it off. Gloria pulled Jay's hand and placed him inside the car. Then she returned to hug me, saying, "Great New Year party, Edward. We'll see you again, yes?" "Probably," I replied vaguely, just to mess with her. Gloria widened her eyes in shock, mumbling, "Probably, as if we don't know what will happen tomorrow. Not that he's never coming to us again." As everyone got into the car and drove off, I waved goodbye. The Dunphys' car was the last to leave the estate driveway. Haley waved at me with a mischievous smirk before pretending to be forlorn, staring at the trees with depressed eyes, which made her mother even more uncomfortable. I chuckled softly as I imagined Phil and Claire's reaction. I knew for sure they would want to talk to Haley about it when they returned home tonight. My friends also left around the same time, so I walked over to say goodbye, promising to hang out at Jenna's place on Monday before returning to the party. "Edward! I want to stay." Enid whined as she hugged me. Jenna turned to her mother and said, "I thought you were cool. Why do we have to leave early?" Mrs. Carlson smiled wearily and replied, "I'm just too tired, hun. Besides, we need to drop off Elsa." "If I leave, you leave," Elsa said, putting her arm around Jenna's shoulder and teasing her. Billy's eyes sparkled as I told her about the visit to the set of The Office. "When should we go?" she asked excitedly. "Let's go on Monday. Maybe we can meet Rain," I said with a smile. Billy loved the character Dwight, played by Rainn Wilson, even more than John Krasinski's Jim Halpert. I didn't know if they would be filming that day, but since John invited me, I held on to some hope. Phineas and Jacob were quite dissatisfied that only Billy received the invitation from me. They were fans of the show too, but Billy was a die-hard fan. If I could bring more people with me, I wouldn't hesitate to ask them to come. Tara furrowed her brows as she scrutinized my face while the others got into their cars. Left alone with me, she asked, "Did something happen between you and Haley?" "What do you mean?" I pretended to be confused. Tara's expression darkened, and she muttered to herself, "Nothing happened? What did she do then? This bitch couldn't even respond to my texts." "Tara?" I called out, breaking her out of her tumultuous thoughts. "Shut up. I'm leaving," Tara replied angrily before getting into the car with the sad Enid. Enid pressed both hands against the side window, her face pouting exaggeratedly as the car slowly moved away. The third-to-last performance ended with Rihanna singing Umbrella. The crowd was still in party mode, and most of them congregated in front of the stage. Maggie called Jessie J up to perform her hit, Domino. After bidding farewell to my friends, I made my way to Vanessa's table and joined her and Max as Jessie J took the stage. The concert was nearing its conclusion, and I would be closing it out soon before handing the party over to the DJ. Vanessa sighed as soon as she caught sight of the gleam on my face. "Damn it, so the date went well," she mused, clearly dissatisfied. "Unfortunately for you, yeah," I replied with a laugh. Vanessa grumbled but accepted her fate easily. "Well, I need to focus on my career anyway, so I have to say no to having a boyfriend for now." "Don't act like you were the one rejecting him," Max teased, smirking as Vanessa released Vader from her grip. Vader walked over to me, nuzzling her head against my arm before settling down and resting her head on my forearm. I scratched her head while watching Vanessa retort to Max with an offended expression. "Ah. I didn't ask him out. I made him promise, but that was only for his sake. I don't want him to get depressed after being rejected and ruin my future career plans. Max grinned, clearly unconvinced. But before Vanessa could continue, I interjected, Max, that's enough. You'll make her cry. No, I won't. Vanessa shot back while sipping her Mai Tai. Is that alcoholic? I asked, raising an eyebrow. She flinched slightly. A little? Vanessa hesitated before answering. Anxious about me stopping her, though I had no intention to, I just wanted to see if I could have one myself. Vanessa then turned toward Sage's direction and asked, Edward, that's your teacher, right? I glanced over before answering, yup. I saw tarot cards at their table. I want to have my fate read too. Can you introduce me? Vanessa asked hesitantly. You can just go over there, they probably won't shoo you away, I suggested, slightly disinterested. But Max chimed in, wanting a reading too. Oh, in New York, some of my friends always get their fate read during New Year's. I never bothered because I always knew I'd be slutty, broke, or potentially homeless. I don't need some cards to tell me that. But since my life has been so unpredictable, I'd like to get the tarot readings too. Just go over there, I pointed casually at Sage. Just introduce us. Max insisted, standing up and tugging at my hand slightly. I sighed in defeat, picked up Vader, and walked toward Sage's table with the two of them. Heads up, 2 more customers incoming, I said to Sage as I casually took a seat at the table. Sage looked at me with confusion while Max and Vanessa sat across from me, looking at her with excitement. Vader surprisingly rushed to greet Mrs. Henderson after laying down in my arms, which made Max and me very surprised. Can I get a reading? Vanessa asked Sage shyly. How much are you charging, Sage? I inquired before turning to Vanessa, how much will you pay? It's fine. No charge for today, Sage said with a smirk. Vanessa proceeded to pick 3 cards and laid them down on the table. The first card was the Emperor, the second was 8 of Pentacles, and the last one was a reversed the Lovers. Sage explained to Vanessa while I listened disinterestedly. Pushing the Emperor card forward, Sage said, you are stepping into a phase where your hard work and strategic thinking are paying off. This is a time of empowerment, where you are not just participating but leading the way. Embrace this energy, it's your time to shine professionally. Nice, great situation for me, I chimed in, laughing, while Vanessa giggled in satisfaction. Really? She asked. Don't interrupt her divination. She hates that. She'll hit you in the head, I interjected before Sage could ask Vanessa to let her finish. Vanessa looked alarmed and immediately turned obedient. Mrs. Henderson gave me a look and commented, I thought you weren't interested? I'm a little bit interested now. Just a little bit. I said coyly. Sage continued while addressing Vanessa, next, the 8 of Pentacles appears, emphasizing your dedication and craftsmanship. You are honing your skills and putting in the effort required to master your trade. Your commitment will not go unnoticed, and success is on the horizon. Oh. So you're going to be really successful in your career this year. Max celebrated with Vanessa. Max looked at the Lover's card and said, this one is about love. So you will succeed in your romantic life too. No, Sage said curtly, pouring cold water on the girl's excitement. I'm sorry? Vanessa asked in disbelief. The Lovers, reversed. This card suggests that while your career is flourishing, there may be turbulence in your romantic life. These cards together tell a story of imbalance, great success in your career but struggles in love, Sage explained simply. It will be better for you to stay single for a few years and focus on your career before looking. Sage added, which made Vanessa turn baffled. If it's any comfort, you have the same reading as the blondie that comes before you. Sage said while pointing at a table nearby. I followed her finger and saw Taylor sitting at the table, talking with Selena. Do me next. Max wanted to get hers, and I was curious to see what that would be like when suddenly, a staff member came to notify me about the performance. Ah, my time has come, I said before I slowly stood up from the chair. If you'll excuse me, ladies, I said before I left the table. Edward, Mrs. Henderson suddenly called out to me. I turned to her in confusion. She said vaguely, remember to pull your punch. Can everyone stop trying to confuse me for a day? I said playfully, but I kept her words in my mind. General POV. You will still be broke, and you won't have a fruitful romantic encounter this year, Sage told Max as Edward left. Will I still have one-night stands? Max asked seriously. Sage was taken aback before replying, that's really up to you. The cards don't say anything about that. Then that's good enough for me, Max cackled. She reached out her hand to Vader, who was lying down and stretching next to Mrs. Henderson. Suddenly, Vader became alert and jolted upright. Vader! Max exclaimed in shock as the cat dashed toward the stage area. She hurried after Vader, trying to catch up. Vanessa abruptly stood up from her chair to help, but Vader was too fast. Being a black cat made it easy to lose sight of her in the night. Vader disappeared into the crowd, causing Max to turn pale. Princess Munchkin Vader III, she called out, but it was futile. Her shouting attracted some attention. Taylor walked over to Max and Vanessa and asked, what happened? Edward's cat. She just ran off, Vanessa explained. Max complained, Vader is usually more docile. What even happened? Taylor suddenly said, it's a period of activeness for a feline. She stopped abruptly, catching the is it really the time? Looks from Max and Vanessa, and coughed twice. Edward has that tracker on Vader's collar. Just check that, Taylor suggested. Maybe she went to find Edward. I'll go check the stage, Vanessa said before hurrying off. Her guess was correct, Vader had gone backstage after sensing something was amiss. Rewind a few minutes, as Edward reached backstage, he saw a short, stubby man wearing thick glasses sitting beside Britney. The pop star was still visibly drunk, but the man said, you need to take your medicine. Are you her doctor? Edward asked casually, even though two bodyguards were blocking him from getting close to Britney. None of your business, kid, the man replied condescendingly, trying to shove the lithium into her mouth. Britney resisted, albeit drunkenly, which made Edward raise an eyebrow. If you force her to take the pills while she has alcohol in her system, there will be side effects, Edward warned, already aware of the pills the man was holding. Edward had a lot of questions. 1. Why were they backstage when they had already been kicked out after Britney was found drunk? 2. Had Britney drunk until she blacked out to avoid taking the pills? 3. Who was this guy? He certainly didn't look like a doctor. I'm her manager. I know what to do, the man said, waving at the bodyguards to chase Edward away. Please leave us, one of the bodyguards, the same one who had previously scuffled with Abed and Mickey, said as he reached for Edward. Edward smirked. Where do you think you are? He grabbed the man's hand and twisted it. Ow, the bodyguard squealed in pain as Edward shot a warning glare at the other guy to remain still. This is my party. This is my stage. How brazen are you? Especially since I witnessed you drugging an inebriated girl. I have no choice but to intervene. Edward twisted the bodyguard's arm further, forcing him into an awkward position as the pain became unbearable. The other man hesitated, realizing Edward's identity. Sarah, Chuck, Mickey, and Edward's other security members soon arrived, standing behind him, which made the so-called manager back off from Britney. What are your fingers made of? Metal. The twisted-arm bodyguard yelled in pain, desperately trying to pry Edward's grip off with his other hand. How could he? With the genin-level chakra he'd acquired, Edward had practiced his chakra control, currently strengthening his grip. He threw the bodyguard to the ground and casually passed the other one, who stood frozen in fear not because of Edward, but because he noticed a red dot on his chest. Casey had aimed his sniper rifle at that guy, ready to pull the trigger at any moment. Sarah, if they do anything funny, beat them up, Edward said as he walked toward Britney. Sarah drew her knives, pressing one against the kneeling bodyguard's neck. Sure thing, boss. Who the fuck did I provoke today? The bodyguard thought alarmingly, feeling the cold metal against his skin.
This is lithium, isn't it? Are you fucking dumb? You want her to eat this?
Edward snatched the pill from the manager's hand. You don't have any right to interfere with our business.
Like I said before, I do have that right. It's a responsibility. I don't know who the fuck you are, but I know you're doing something stupid. I can get you arrested right here and now. So speak another word. I dare you. The man fell silent under Edward's threat and backed off. Edward checked on Brittany before telling Mickey, bring her back to the house.
Keep them away from her until she's sober and can confirm their identities.
Detain the rest of them.
I'm calling my lawyer. As the man reached for his phone, Edward snatched it away and crushed it in his grip. The man was speechless as Edward destroyed his lifeline.
Oops, sorry. I didn't know your phone was so fragile.
Invest in a better one next time, Edward said with a devilish smirk.
Sarah had followed Edward's lead, confiscating the bodyguard's phones as well. Meow?
Edward suddenly heard a familiar sound from the floor. The manager jolted as he spotted Vader, shouting, "Where the fuck did the cat come from?"
Shoo! I fucking hate cats.
He swung his leg quickly, almost kicking Vader's stomach, but the cat was too quick, dodging the attack.
Boom!
The man was sent flying by a punch, his nose breaking, glasses shattering, and front teeth splintering. His eyes rolled back, revealing only the whites as he fainted instantly.
Everyone stood wide-eyed at the sudden turn of events.
One moment, the man was right in front of them, the next, he was flung 3 meters away, crashing onto some boxes. Edward retracted his fist and scooped up Vader from the floor. "You fucking dare," he snarled, checking on Vader before handing her to Mickey. He then strode toward the unconscious man, a storm of fury brewing inside him.
"You dare try to hurt my family." Edward's voice dripped with menace, his anger clouding his rationality.
"Shit!" Mickey cursed, rushing to grab Edward and slow him down, his eyes wide with concern.
"Calm down, Newgate."
Chuck joined in, gripping Edward's arm as he yanked the unconscious man by the collar, lifting him slightly off the ground. Edward's eyes were bloodshot, a magatama almost forming in that moment, instilling a deep-seated fear in those around him. Most froze in place, paralyzed by the palpable tension. From a distance, Maggie and Vanessa witnessed the unfolding chaos. "Edward!" Ted finally arrived on the scene, his voice cutting through the turmoil. The sound snapped Edward out of his rage-fueled haze. He glared at Ted for a moment before his fury began to dissipate. The magatama flickered but eventually faded as he calmed himself. "Oh shit." Realizing his surroundings, Edward relaxed his grip and dropped the manager back onto the floor, prompting sighs of relief from Mickey and Chuck, who quickly released him. Yet, Edward felt no regret. "Bring him to the hospital or something." "I don't think he's dead yet," he instructed, glancing at the man, who groaned weakly in response. "What happened?" Ted asked urgently as he approached Edward. Edward sighed. "He tried to kick Vader. I lost control." Before he could finish, Ted seized the manager by the collar, raising his fist to deliver a punch, rage burning in his eyes. Mickey and Chuck immediately intervened, shouting, "Oh come on." Frankie," Maggie called out to Frankie with a shaky voice. Frankie, already attuned to the situation, replied calmly, "I noticed Jesse is set to sing another song."
"Edward can take his time to calm down.
If necessary, we can end the performance right here."
No. That won't be necessary. I can close the concert. I have already calmed down now,"
Edward said as he put on his earpiece. He heard what Frankie said and was thankful for her quick response.
"Are you sure?" Frankie asked. "Yeah, I'm sure,"
Edward replied casually as he rubbed his sore forehead.
"Fucking Sharingan and their mood swings," he grumbled. Chapter 332, New Year Party Concert Part 8. General POV.
Sage hummed as she sipped her drink, then said to Henderson, "He did pull his punch, but just a little bit."
Henderson's eyes flickered for a moment before returning to their usual stony expression.
With a poker face, she commented, "He may get brain damage." There was no trace of concern in her tone, it was merely an observation.
"That would be quite bad," Sage remarked nonchalantly. "It'll be troublesome for Edward, and for me too.
I'm counting on him to make money so I can buy things.
I'm quitting teaching, so I need that income."
Unlike Henderson, who found fulfillment in teaching, Sage viewed it as a nuisance. It was hellish for her since she disliked meeting other people. With Edward no longer around, she had submitted her resignation and wouldn't be returning this year. The reason she had acted as a teacher was to create a logical excuse for her proximity to Edward. But now that Edward had given her another identity to work with, being his godsister, she could resign smoothly without facing reprimands from upper management.
"Maybe he can hire me as a nurse? Or a medical assistant?"
Sage pondered before standing up, slightly shaky from having had too much to drink.
"I'm going to the powder room for a bit."
She left Henderson alone at the table and made her way to the mansion. As she passed through the bodyguards surrounding the room where the victim was, Sage was stopped by Randall at the door.
Miss Anna."
"You cannot be here," Randall said, his voice tinged with distress.
Mickey suddenly interjected, "It's okay.
She can go anywhere she wants."
Huh?
Both Randall and Sage looked confused.
Sage turned to Mickey and repeated, "I can go anywhere I want?" Mickey smiled, "Yeah.
Mr. Newgate told us not to bother you for any reason and gave you free access to anywhere, including this room filled with our detainees." He opened the door for Sage, allowing her to enter. Inside, a few of Edward's security were present, ensuring her safety.
Sage noticed an emergency aid nurse wrapping bandages around the self-proclaimed manager's face.
This is doable," Sage muttered before asserting, "Everyone leave the room, except for that guy." She pointed at the injured man. Meanwhile, at the outdoor party, Mrs. Henderson suddenly spoke to the empty table.
"Are you not going to interfere?"
Gongshin appeared out of thin air, a pina colada in hand.
"I'm on a break. Do whatever you guys want."
He walked over to the waitress, smiled, and said, "I need more of this." "Sir, that is your 49th cup of drink today." "How are you still alive?" the waitress asked, shocked. Mrs. Henderson suddenly took out her phone and dialed 911. "Hello, I'd like to report something," she muttered. "There's pretty privilege, so your fans won't really hold it against you. Plus, there's the defense of him trying to hurt your cat." Vanessa tried to comfort Edward, noticing he seemed a little out of it. Backstage, Edward, Max, and Vanessa stood together, with Vader jumping onto Edward's shoulder. Vader nuzzled her face against Edward's cheek to show her gratitude while Edward looked something up on his phone.
"Huh?
No, I'm not bothered by the punch at all," Edward said, snapping out of his thoughts as he heard Vanessa's concerned voice. What he cared about was his eyes. Using his phone, he searched for Naruto fandom pages, hoping to find a detailed record of jutsu. He wanted to try it out, to see if it really worked. So far, he had only used 5% of his chakra reserve. The reserve wasn't regenerating, which made him hesitant to play around with it, but right now, he changed his mind.
Max tearfully said, "This is all my fault. I can't even handle being a cat sitter."
This wouldn't have happened if I hadn't lost her. Her nose was reddened, and she felt responsible for the incident. "Nah, it's no one's fault other than that guy," Edward said casually, taking some cat treats from his pocket to feed Vader. "I'm already disgusted by what they were doing, so the punch made me feel much better." He smiled slightly to comfort Max before giving Vader back to her.
"Don't lose her this time.
And Vader, don't run away alone in strange places."
"Meow, I."
Vader nuzzled Max's face, trying to cheer her up. Edward laughed and then walked to the stage as Maggie called his name.
"It has been a really fun night. For the last act, the main character is returning to close the concert. Give it up for Edward," Maggie announced cheerfully as Edward stepped onto the stage.
The crowd, unaware of what had just happened backstage, cheered thunderously upon seeing Edward. Many of them already had hoarse voices from the concert. It was a rare experience to see this number of artists all in one event. The uniqueness of the experience made the employees even more excited. The guests were having the time of their lives. Edward stood in front of the microphone, searching the crowd with his eyes. There were a few familiar faces, but they weren't what he was hoping for. The crowd laughed and smiled as they waited for him to speak into the microphone. They waited for a moment and turned confused when Edward didn't move. Ted noticed it and muttered to himself, "Edward? Is he okay?" I knew it was too soon for him to get up there. Pepper was also confused. "All right. We can stop the concert now," people were clamoring, whispering about the situation. "Hold on. I'm just thinking," Edward suddenly said into the microphone, making everyone alert. "I wanted to sing songs from my album, The Fan Favorites, but I just experienced something that makes me want to sing something else. You guys have never heard it before." The crowd cheered in excitement at the prospect of hearing a new song. Edward laughed slightly and said, "But the song isn't really made for parties, so that's why I'm hesitating a bit. Do you guys even care about the genre?" "We do not," many people shouted laughingly, which made Edward smile in satisfaction. "All right then. I'll talk with the band for a bit." Lowering his microphone, Edward walked over to the band members and whispered, "I'm going to play track number 56. Are you guys familiar with it?" "Demons, right?" the drummer asked for confirmation. "Yup," Edward replied casually. "We never practiced it with you, but we know the song," the pianist said. "We can do it," the bassist added. Edward picked up a guitar and said, "I'll play too. Follow my lead." "Oh, he just wants to play on his own," Pepper breathed a sigh of relief. "I thought he was going to quit singing forever." This comment made Ronaldo look at him in disbelief. "Why did your mind go straight to that?" Ronaldo asked, astonished. Pepper merely shrugged in response. On stage, Edward held his guitar, took a deep breath, and closed his eyes slightly. The idea of befriending those I knew who were doing messed up things made my skin crawl. But in this industry, I don't really know who I can trust. Again, this isn't really new. His past experiences made it easier to accept that people are complicated and often driven by self-interest. Edward has seen many idols fall in his life. People who were hailed as benevolent, kind, generous, were exposed as complete low-life by those around them. Sometimes, he felt that the world itself has no heroes. It made life bleaker for him. Other than a few fictional characters, he didn't hold anyone else to a higher regard anymore. You looked up to some people, and they let you down. But right now, I'm one of those people being looked up to. I vow never to become like them. Edward thought seriously as he opened his eyes. Grabbing the microphone, Edward sang with a melancholic voice that captured everyone's attention. The band immediately followed with musical accompaniment.
When the days are cold and the cards all fold and the saints we see are all made of gold.
As Edward sang from the heart, his soul voice was triggered. The resonance swept through the audience, dampening the initial excitement of New Year's Eve and invoking deep emotion.
And your dreams all fail and the ones we hail are the worst of all. And the bloods run stale.
Eminem muttered, "No passion anymore about what you're doing. That will kill you. Man, I don't think he's cut out to be a rapper." "His words are poetic," Snoop said teasingly to Marshall. However, both of them felt heavy on the heart as they felt they were part of the saints made of gold. Edward strummed his guitar, closing his eyes as he sang.
I wanna hide the truth, I wanna shelter you, but with the beast inside, there's nowhere we can hide.
The crowd began to lift their hands, swaying to the music.
No matter what we breed, we still are made of greed. This is my kingdom come, this is my kingdom come.
Edward opened his eyes again, singing directly to the crowd. Nell clasped her hands together in prayer, her eyes filled with tears. As the chorus approached, the beat intensified.
When you feel my heat, look into my eyes. It's where my demons hide. It's where my demons hide.
The stage lights moved upward, illuminating the sky. The crowd cheered in excitement. Some of them were so moved that they didn't realize tears were falling from their eyes.
Don't get too close. It's dark inside. It's where my demons hide. It's where my demons hide.
Vanessa was reminded of how intense Edward was when he punched the manager, but those thoughts soon shifted to memories of their fun times together and Edward's smiles. Not only Edward, but Vanessa related herself strongly to the lyrics too. "I guess I'm hiding my true self too," she said with a heavy sigh. One bad thing doesn't undo the good things he's done. Where his demons hide, I guess he feels bad about having those feelings. But feeling frustrated sometimes is normal, Ted thought to himself, listening carefully to the lyrics.
Curtains call, it's the last of all. When the lights fade out, all the sinners cross.
Edward crooned, gazing at the sky.
So they dug your grave and the masquerade will come calling out at the mess you made.
Turned to address the audience. Pepper suddenly shuddered. Ronaldo shot him a strange look. "What's wrong?" he asked. "It's about Judgment Day and the hypocrisy of people. Some will befriend you just to screw you over." "God, I'm really feeling this song," Pepper replied, touching the back of his head nervously, fearing anyone would see his bald spot. The whole being a CEO of a multi-billion-dollar corporation, a future multi-billion-dollar corporation, has been hard on his stress level.
Don't wanna let you down, but I am hellbound. Oh, this is all for you. Don't wanna hide the truth. No.
Selena swooned, fully inebriated from the night's festivities. "Oh, Edward, yes, I understand you." Her cloying words made Taylor roll her eyes and snatch the drink from Selena's hand. "You've already had a lot to drink," she scolded.
No matter what we breed, we still are made of greed. This is my kingdom come. This is my kingdom come.
Edward pushed his guitar to his back while the other guitarist covered for him, grabbed the microphone, and walked toward the audience.
When you feel my heat, look into my eyes. It's where my demons hide. It's where my demons hide. Don't get too close. It's dark inside. It's where my demons hide. It's where my demons hide.
The crowd cheered as he approached them, reaching out for him with their hands. "Edward! You rock!" Penny shouted.
They say it's what you make. I say it's up to fate. It's woven in my soul. I need to let you go.
Edward sang sincerely as he made his way back to the center stage.
Your eyes, they shine so bright. I wanna save that light. I can't escape this now unless you show me how.
Frankie listened attentively. "Are you giving up, Edward? Then why did you try to date? Are you putting your hopes on her?" she guessed, sensing that Edward wanted someone to pull him out of his dark thoughts. "I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing," she added. Edward smiled slightly as he sang.
When you feel my heat, look into my eyes. It's where my demons hide. It's where my demons hide. Don't get too close. It's dark inside. It's where my demons hide. It's where my demons hide.
As he finished the song, the crowd erupted into cheers, jumping, applauding, whistling, and shouting for him. "Edward! You're the best! You rock! Thank you, Edward!" Edward smiled softly, wiping the sweat from his forehead. The crowd applauded for a solid 2 minutes before he could finally get a word in. Not wanting to ruin his clothes any further, Edward took off his sweater and continued his performance topless. Before he sang his next song, Edward noticed flashing blue and red lights in the distance. "Frankie," he asked through his earpiece. "Cops came. They took the guy away." "You don't have to worry, they don't want to talk to you," Frankie replied casually. "Seriously?" Edward was confused. "Yeah. Apparently, he's not injured at all." "You have a very soft fist." "Huh?" Edward blanked out for a moment before realizing the crowd was chanting his name. That song was titled Demons. "Next up, I'm going to sing the song that started everything, 7 years." Ignoring the situation for now, Edward continued his performance until the concert ended. Meanwhile, Detective Chloe arrived at the party with her partner after receiving a 911 call. She walked straight to the room where the detainees were, leaving Mickey confused. "Who called the cops?" He mumbled to himself, his heart racing as the detective approached. "We got a call about harassment and disturbance." "The perps are in the room?" Chloe asked casually, reaching for the door handle. Mickey couldn't stop her as she opened the door. The detained bodyguards perked up at the sight of the detective. However, the one who seemed most excited was the victim lying on the cold floor, bandages stained with blood wrapped around his face, leaving only his eyes and nostrils visible. "MMPH, he muffled, rushing toward the detective to report a crime. Chloe looked confused. "What happened here?" One of the bodyguards replied, "Thank goodness you're here. These men held us in this room against our will. They even pressed blades threateningly against our necks, preventing us from protecting our asset, stashing her God knows where." The muffled man glared at the bodyguards, desperately trying to communicate his situation. He pointed his fingers at his own face, hinting at the guards to tell them about him. "Oh, yeah. He was punched, broke his nose and 5 of his teeth, and even lost consciousness for over 10 minutes, the guards replied casually, showing no concern for the manager. Infuriated, the manager pulled parts of the bandages covering his mouth before spitting slightly. Then he reported everything. "Newgate punched me. I want to press charges. He broke my nose. And my teeth," he shouted. "Huh? Which teeth?" Chloe asked casually. "These teeth, wait." As the manager touched his teeth, he found that all of them were still intact. "It didn't break?" "It felt like it did," he muttered, confused. "It broke, right?" He turned to the bodyguard and asked. The duo nodded, equally confused. "D doesn't matter, he also broke my nose." He opened the bandages on his nose, revealing it to be perfectly intact. "Yeah, I've heard enough." "Turn over, hands on your back," Chloe said callously as she grabbed a handcuff from her waist, cuffing the manager, who was still baffled by the situation. "What?" The manager was shocked by the turn of events. "I received a call about disorderly conduct and attempts to drug an inebriated girl." The caller was very formal about her choice of words too. After informing him of his Miranda rights, Chloe instructed the other officers to escort the bodyguards with them. Mickey was confused but didn't say anything, letting the situation unfold. "Edward, Anna. What kind of people are you guys?" He shuddered, imagining a hidden organization of medical professionals or assassins capable of hiding someone's injuries in minutes. Mickey knew for sure that the guy was injured, he had held the guy's teeth in his hand before. "No. That's not what happened. I was just trying to give her medicine," the man protested as he was led away by Chloe. "Oh, so you admit it. We already procured the compound you were trying to give her. You can defend yourself at the station." "No. Listen to me. The one you need to arrest is Edward Newgate. He punched me in the face." "Why?" Chloe asked casually. "Because I was trying to kick his cat." "Oh, so I should add animal abuse to your list of crimes." Chloe smiled in excitement as she pushed the man, urging him to walk toward her patrol car. The man felt baffled that he was tricked by the police. "I need to call my lawyer."
Let me call my lawyer," he shouted incessantly. She arranged for someone to pick up Brittany and escort her to the hospital.
As long as the doctors could prove that giving the compound was harmful, they would have a case to hold the manager at the station longer. They wouldn't be able to keep him there for long, as he had powerful lawyers. But in another twist of fate, the car driving him back would get into a traffic accident, and his teeth, nose, and all previous injuries would reappear in the exact same condition.
Edward POV. Waving my hand at the crowd, I shouted, "That's it from me and for the concert. I'll hand over the stage to DJ Sasha. You're all in great hands. Now I can finally enjoy the party. I hope you all have a wonderful year. 2010 is going to be lit." The crowd cheered excitedly as the DJ began spinning some tracks. With a satisfied smile on my face, I left the stage and wiped my sweaty torso with a towel.
"I need a shower," I muttered as I made my way backstage. Vanessa's hand moved toward my abs, her eyes dazed.
"What are you doing?"
"I need to meet Sage and ask her for the details of what just happened."
Chapter 333, New Year Party Concert Part 9. Edward POV. Loud thumping music, party girls dancing, and the DJ spinning his turntable became the spotlight after the concert ended.
A lot of people wanted to talk to me afterward, but I headed to the VIP section, causing them to halt their approach. They had to speak with the security guard about their intentions, and only if I approved would the guards let them into the VIP area to talk to me.
I walked straight to Mrs. Henderson's and Sage's table.
They were munching on snacks while sipping their drinks. As soon as I arrived, I snatched a chip from Sage's plate and popped it into my mouth, feeling hungry.
Sage didn't mind and said, "That was for you." She had already anticipated my hunger and ordered the snacks for me. I raised an eyebrow and asked the duo, "So, what's going on? I thought you guys couldn't be involved?"
"I think the first word that should come out of your mouth is thanks,"
Mrs. Henderson said sternly. I gulped and replied, "Oh. My bad, Sage. Thank you for ordering this for me and for handling that guy before I could." Sage smiled and feigned innocence. "What guy? I didn't do anything. So I should act ignorant too, huh?"
I smiled wearily, looking at her with disbelief.
Sage rubbed her chin in contemplation before replying, "No. I did help you.
I made it seem like he's not injured right now. He'll have the same injuries after he gets out of the police station, so he can't claim it was from you."
"Won't you get in trouble for helping me?" I asked, feeling warm inside. Sage crossed her arms and said coyly, "No.
There are no repercussions for doing things on my days off."
"Days off?" I was confused. Sage smirked and said, "We're a corporation.
We can apply for PTOs, personal time off.
The bosses aren't slave drivers who make us work 24/7, 7 days a week." "PTOs?" My mind was blown for a second. "Anna, talk to him about the job," Mrs. Henderson reminded Sage.
"Job?
What job?" My curiosity piqued, and I leaned forward interestedly. Sage looked at Henderson in disbelief and said, "Really, right now? There's no difference in doing this now or any other time. So why not let your mind be at ease and just ask him?" Mrs. Henderson advised. Sage pondered while I called a waitress and ordered some food.
"All right, I'm doing it now," she said as she turned to me.
"Shoot."
I ate some chips as I waited for her to speak.
"I think I'm not suitable for a teaching job. So I have a proposition. I'll be your nurse for the duration of your world tour." Question. I interlocked my fingers, leaned forward, and grinned, "Will you wear a nurse outfit?"
She smacked my forehead as retribution for my perverted question.
Mrs.
Henderson added, "She has to be near you for her job. If you hire her, she'll be allowed to use her ability to heal any sort of physical ailment while fulfilling her responsibilities to the corporation."
Stop, I raised my hand and shook my head dizzily. "You can be my nurse. Just make Mrs. Henderson stop talking." Sage smiled excitedly as Mrs. Henderson gave me a death stare. "You know what?
I think we should have a talk about your impulsivity and general course of action over the last few weeks.
What's that? Pepper is calling me?
Sorry, Teach.
I need to go now.
I attempted to stand but found I couldn't move my lower half.
Shocked, I looked at Mrs. Henderson in disbelief.
I'm also on a break, so I was granted permission to use my abilities too, she said, slurping her drink. So we're going to have a talk, Edward.
Whether you like it or not.
She grinned devilishly as I sat there, sweating heavily. Chilled by the sudden turn of events, Sage stood up and excused herself. I'm going to go get some drinks, maybe make sure no one comes near you guys.
Sage, come back.
My voice cracked as I whispered, calling her for help. But she ignored me.
I avoided Mrs. Henderson's gaze as I turned back to her.
She stared at me and began her lecture.
First off, I'm going to commend you. Really?
My body perked up, and I looked at her expectantly, finally meeting her eyes. She nodded and said, even though you were anxious and wanted to interfere, you trusted your friends and the adults around you. Even if you eventually break down and become nosy in their work, you still try to let them do their own jobs.
Isn't that normal? I asked in confusion.
Not for a control addict, Mrs. Henderson said casually, her words digging deep into my heart. Suddenly, she patted my head slightly before pulling her hand away and continuing.
Nice job. You tried really hard to let go, she complimented, making me feel giddy like a little boy.
Now, let's talk about what you did wrong, she said sternly. My face froze, and I lowered my gaze, accepting whatever was coming my way.
General POV.
Ted and Frankie walked together, intending to talk to Edward when they suddenly bumped into Sage.
Oh no, you don't want to go there,
Sage said, stopping Ted in his tracks.
Why not, Anna?
Ted asked, confused. I know you want to talk to him about what just happened, but believe me, he's currently getting the lecture of his life. If you go there, you'll just get caught in the crossfire, Sage explained with a mischievous smile.
Ted chuckled and replied, Really? Who? Oh, it's Henderson. I guess she found out what he did.
Sage smirked.
Exactly.
Now you can still be the fun dad without dealing with the serious talk.
As the duo giggled, Frankie raised an eyebrow at them. I do want to be the fun dad. I guess that's all right. Ted joked. Frankie's commentary. Am I feeling jealous right now?
I didn't care about him talking to other pretty girls throwing themselves at him all night, but...
Anna? Commentary ends.
Oblivious to the thoughts brewing in his girlfriend's mind, Ted joked around with Sage.
Oh, I need to say this. Edward just hired me to be his nurse during the world tour.
So I guess we'll be traveling together, Sage said casually. An angry vein popped up on Frankie's forehead, and her left eye twitched slightly as she glared at the duo.
I know you helped Edward just now. Thank you for that. Did you learn medical skills before? Ted asked. Sage nodded.
I did 2 years of medical school. She submitted her request before she even talked to Edward, and now, all of her files and abilities were updated by the corporation.
Oh, medical? I thought you only had a teacher's degree. If this isn't a secret, can I know how many certificates you have?
Ted asked, skeptical about Sage and Edward's relationship from the start. He never really understood why they were really close with each other, but now, he has an inkling.
Is this like a resume thing? Sage asked. Ted nodded slightly, smirking. Yeah, we can consider it that.
Frankie shot a death glare at Ted as she saw his expression, which made her fumed in silence even more.
Sage counted on her fingers casually.
EMT certification, Advanced Cardiac Life Support, ACLS certification, Tactical Combat Casualty Care, TCCC certification, Trauma Surgery certification, Wilderness Medicine certification, Close Quarters Combat, CQC certification, Firearms Training certification, Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA certification, Hazardous Materials Handling certification. Flabbergasted by the never-ending list, Frankie interjected quickly, Wait. How many certificates do you have overall? Around 40, Sage replied casually. All her credentials were legitimate, created by the corporation. Where did you go to study? Frankie asked skeptically. I graduated summa cum laude from Stanford with a Bachelor of Arts and Sciences, Sage said. You have all of that? How old are you again? Ted asked, surprised. 24? 25 this year, Sage replied. So, am I good enough to work as Edward's nurse? She added, a hint of excitement in her voice. Frankie looked at her in disbelief. Are you confused about your own age? Yes, Sage replied curtly, leaving Frankie and Ted frazzled. Suddenly, Frankie's phone rang, snapping her out of her daze. Claire is calling, Frankie muttered. Ted turned to her and asked, do you think she's calling because she heard about the punch? Maybe. Why don't you talk more with your new girlfriend while I take this call? Frankie said without thinking. Ted's eyes widened in disbelief. Realizing her slip, she stammered, but quickly left to answer the call, leaving behind Sage and Ted in their stunned state. As soon as she picked up, she blurted, Claire, I think I made a mistake with Ted. Claire was taken aback. What happened? She asked, wanting to know about the fight she heard rumors of, but her friend's problem took first priority. Edward POV. Don't depend on the rest skill to sleep. Try to rest on your own at least once or twice a week, Mrs. Henderson nagged. But if I don't, I won't fall asleep quickly, and my schedule for the next day will be messed up. I tried to defend myself, but she cut me off. Then you shouldn't have a schedule for the next day. Take a few days of rest just for yourself. Can you do that, or are you too immature to manage your own time effectively? I pursed my lips sulkily. She continued, do you understand me? Yes, ma'am. I'll manage my sleep routine better. I relented quickly, sensing the fire in her eyes. There was something different in her tone tonight, making me uneasy. Don't just change your sleep routine, change your work routine too. Don't work for more than 8 hours a day. You want me to cut my work in half? I stared at her, shocked. She furrowed her brows. Do you really think working for 16 to 20 hours a day is normal? Even if you don't feel tired, that's no excuse to throw everything into your work. You've been neglecting your friends for a while now. Yes, ma'am. For almost 20 minutes, she nitpicked everything I had been doing, and my mind spun from her relentless lecture. Don't put yourself in dangerous situations. I know sometimes you can't help it, but there are times when you absolutely can. Think about how your family will feel if something happens to you. Yes, ma'am. Take care of your meals. You're not watching your nutritional intake. Eat more broccoli. Don't drink too much coffee. Don't eat too much candy. Yes, ma'am. You're going to some cold places on your tour, make sure to pack a sweater and warm clothes. Yes, ma'am. Don't think for a second that you're alone in the world. Her words made me fall into deep thought. Yes, ma'am. I replied with a stifled smile. She sighed. And don't do anything weird to Oda-sensei when you go to Japan. I widened my eyes slightly and chuckled nervously. I'm not going to do anything to him. Just take care of his health. That's all. I avoided her gaze, feeling the weight of her stare. Just then, my food arrived, breaking the uncomfortable silence. As the waitress placed my burger down, Mrs. Henderson said, "You should eat." You know, this surprised me a bit. I thought for sure you were going to bring up my relationship with Haley, I said, taking a huge bite of the burger. Who said this is over? Mrs. Henderson smirked, causing me to choke a little. However, I have nothing to say about that, she added, leaving me confused. Huh? Why? I know several people who would have strong opinions about it, if they knew. She nodded slightly. Regret is always harder to live with than the consequences. I guess that's why you made the decision to ask her out, she continued calmly. It might not work, and it may lead to both of you getting hurt. But it's definitely better than doing nothing at all. I smiled. Thank you. I'll try my best not to let her get hurt.
I won't even fight with her.
That's a stupid decision, she shot back.
Huh? Isn't that a good thing?
I asked, puzzled.
No.
You shouldn't avoid fights in a relationship, she explained.
Fighting is about insecurities and reassurances.
It shows that you care enough about your partner to go through difficult moments just to hold on to their love.
She took a deep breath. It's childish. There are many other ways to handle it.
Relationships are inherently messy, which is why most people opt for this. Picking a fight, having it out, then making up afterward, that's normal. What hurts a relationship is shutting each other out, not letting each other in. You really are the wise old owl from that lollipop commercial, I remarked, amazed.
That owl didn't even answer the question.
He just ate the candy after 3 licks, she retorted, irritation creeping into her voice.
I think he is wise.
The annoying kid woke him up to ask a stupid question, and then he ate that kid's candy to teach him a lesson, I joked.
A kid's curiosity shouldn't be punished.
If he had encouraged the kid to experiment on his own, it would have led to a much better outcome, Mrs. Henderson argued.
I nodded in agreement. Spoken like a true teacher.
If I run into any problems during my tour, I'll definitely fly back to speak with you.
Suddenly, Mrs. Henderson fell silent. Can I not do that? I asked with a wry smile. No. It's not that you can't.
I might not be here anymore, she replied.
Are you leaving?
I furrowed my brows, concerned. Yes, she said after a moment of silence, looking deeply into my eyes.
Does this mean I won't be able to see you again?
My chest felt heavy at the thought. It will be a long time before we can meet again, she replied, a kind smile gracing her face. She reached out, taking my hand for comfort.
For my last piece of advice, you need to learn how to let go. She patted my hand gently before pulling it back. People will come and go in your life, Edward. You need to learn to let them live their own lives. The sooner you learn to let go, the better. I couldn't say anything after that.
I sat in silence for a while with Mrs. Henderson, tapping the table with my fingers as I fell into contemplation.
Aren't you going to continue eating? She asked. In a moment, I replied.
I sense that you have some scruples about what I just said, she noted, fully aware of my thoughts.
What if I don't want to let go? I asked solemnly.
Then you'll just end up hurting the person you're holding on to and yourself, she replied. Before we could speak longer, Sage returned to the table, worry etched on her face.
It seems that I might have done something to your dad's relationship.
Don't worry, they will be fine, Mrs. Henderson said comfortingly.
I think we should go back now. Sage nodded. Yeah, I'm already tired. She turned to me. Edward, I'll see you on the tour.
I smiled at her.
Yeah, I'll see you later. I stood up and walked over to Mrs. Henderson, extending my hand for a handshake. And I really hope that I can see you again.
Mrs. Henderson glanced at my hand, then approached me and gave me a light hug.
You won't, she whispered. But I'm glad that you wanted to. She smiled softly, tightening her embrace.
After she left, I felt an emptiness settle in as I sat alone, finishing my dinner.
Vanessa approached me as I was done eating, sitting across from me with Ashley Tisdale. Edward. Why do you look so glum? Vanessa asked, while Ashley greeted me awkwardly, hello.
Hello, Candace, I replied playfully, smiling at Ashley.
Vanessa looked confused. Her name's Ashley?
Ashley rolled her eyes. Candace from my voice acting character, from Phineas and Ferb.
Oh, Vanessa exclaimed shyly. I forgot. She's plastered, I think.
She's been smuggling my ties from God knows where, and we don't even serve that here, I said seriously, making Ashley gasp in disbelief.
Really?
You did that? She asked, astonished. Oh, you're like a lamb to slaughter in front of him, Vanessa teased, rolling her eyes at her friend. Ashley realized she'd been tricked and sulked slightly.
No wonder V told me I should be prepared when I'm talking with you. huh? That doesn't suit you at all, I joked, looking at Vanessa while laughing. Ashley was confused, so Vanessa explained, they all call me Ness here. Ness? Like the Loch Ness Monster? Ashley was taken aback by the connection. Are you being bullied here? She asked Vanessa with concern.
I chuckled at their interaction when suddenly someone shouted from afar, a bottle of vodka in hand.
Bro!
Jacob shouted, his skin glossy with sweat, wearing pajamas that clung to him. He sprinted closer.
What the?
I sat up immediately, preparing myself.
Brew!
Jacob tackled me, causing me to fall backward and crash into the table. Vanessa and Ashley jumped up, retreating from the crash site, eyes wide in surprise.
Oh God, Jacob, how are you back?
I groaned, not trying to get him off me.
I ran, Jacob replied, grinning as he stood back up. You ran?
I looked at him in shock as I stood up, dusting myself off. Mickey and my other bodyguards exchanged glances, unsure whether to intervene.
I waved them away and asked Jacob, you ran 15 miles to come back here?
Some staff members immediately cleared away the broken table and replaced it with another one.
No, bro.
I ran 15 miles to come hang out with you, Jacob said cheerfully.
Bro,
I grinned at him, then my gaze shifted to the vodka bottle in his hand. He caught my look and quickly explained, I was thirsty, so I grabbed a bottle of water.
That's not water.
I snatched the bottle from him and noticed it was already half empty. No, it's clear water. It just burns when I drink it, Jacob said, trying to process it all.
I guess it makes sense you picked this one.
It's made from potatoes, I joked, and we both burst into laughter. Then Jacob suddenly went silent and whispered, I don't get it. Bro, you drank vodka, I teased, still chuckling.
He smiled back, really? Vodka? You need to sit tight.
I'll get you some coffee, I said, calling over the waitress.
Water.
I want water, Jacob whimpered before his head dropped to the table. He'd fallen asleep.
Vanessa and Ashley were still dumbfounded by the situation.
That was scary, Ashley commented. Vanessa sighed and pointed at me. What's even scarier is that he just tackled you, and you sat here like it's nothing. I shrugged and replied, I was already prepared for it, so I'm not going to hurt myself. I checked my watch and realized it was almost 3:30.
Many partygoers had already passed out from exhaustion or intoxication.
I told the bodyguard to let in anyone who wanted to meet me. I needed to send Jacob back to his house, so I was planning to leave soon.
I should meet with them now. Vanessa looked confused. Wouldn't you be going there to make it simpler? I grimaced and said, when have you ever seen a VIP mingle on his own?
It ruins the whole concept of being a VIP.
Chapter 334, New Year Party Concert Part 10 Final. Edward POV. Penny. Eddie.
Penny gave me a bear hug as she approached the table with her friends. I hugged her back, excitement bubbling over. She then leaned in and whispered, I lost my bra because I threw it on the stage.
Do you think I can get it back? I just bought them.
I'll see what I can do, I replied, smirking.
No wonder it was so soft. Penny released me, grinning in disbelief and asking, what did you say?
Nothing, I played it off as I turned to her friends.
And who might you guys be? Hi, I'm Laura.
Laura Wiggins, said the petite blonde next to her, shaking my hand eagerly.
Oh, can I hear your full name? On the night he made a girlfriend? Make one? Ashley looked shocked. Like Frankenstein? He got? Or get? Vanessa seemed perplexed.
Penny introduced the other girl, Eddie, this is Addison, She paused, unsure of the last name.
Addison took the initiative, shaking my hand. Timlin. Addison Timlin.
To my surprise, I recognized both of them.
Laura was from Shameless, and Addison from Californication.
Both shows were still not created yet, so they were working on smaller roles.
Laura's character O'Karen scared me a little in the show.
I really hope that there's no similarities between her and her character.
It's nice to meet you, Addison said, releasing my hand. Nice to meet you guys too.
Please, have a seat, I gestured to the 3 empty seats next to Hudgens and me. Penny laughed, great party, Eddie, as she sat next to me. Touching my arm lightly, she added, I just met them today, and they really wanted to meet you.
I hope that's okay. It's fine.
I wouldn't ask you guys to come if I wasn't okay with it, I said playfully, relieving the 2 girls.
But I am curious.
A lot of girls want you to introduce them to me, so why did you pick these 2? Both actresses exchanged glances at Penny, their eyes sparkling with curiosity. Penny hesitated, then said, among all of them who asked, I think these 2 are the only great actors.
I have acting class with Laura, and I saw
Addison starred in a short film before.
That's not it.
I saw through her attempt to deflect. Penny looked taken aback, but before she could defend herself, I moved on. But I don't really care about the true reason. I only care about why you 2 want to meet with me today, I said, turning to the girls with a polite smile.
You have 2 minutes. I checked my watch.
Startled, both girls widened their eyes, and Vanessa scrunched her face at me in disbelief.
What are you doing? Aren't you supposed to get to know them first? I have a lot of people to talk to. I need to move it along.
If they have something worthwhile, I'll invite them to the company for a deeper chat, I explained. The girls felt a mix of relief and anxiety at my directive. Laura was definitely not expecting the situation as she thought it was a simple introduction, but now she had to rack her brain trying to give a presentation. It was definitely one of her nightmares that ended up in real life. Who wants to go first? I asked, holding my face steady to keep them focused. I knew it was a bit of a jerk move, but that was the reality for a busy, influential man.
Time is precious, and I couldn't waste it on small talk with strangers.
This was a lesson Harvey drilled into me. I had a tendency to yap too much. Seriously, she lectured me so much about the subject. Yapper had become a term for me in the company, just like simp, which I regretted popularizing among my inner circle. They never called me a simp though, so I was proud of that.
I'll go first, Addison said, taking the initiative. I noticed a trend with Entertain and Netflix casting only people you know. My dad told me you follow more of the old Hollywood style in talent management. Don't you think it's unfair to cast only from your circle? There's still a lot more talent out there. Let me reply to your question with a question. Your dad was an actor, right? I asked with a bored expression.
Addison was taken aback. Yes, but I still auditioned for the part.
Really, can you honestly say your connections had nothing to do with it? I pressed. Interview time, getting an in for the audition, all of those needed connections.
It was hard for a total newbie to break through the competitive industry without appropriate connections. So they went to acting coaches, networking with producers and casting agents at parties, and if necessary, even dating them.
Even I needed a connection to start.
Without Taylor's help at the beginning of the career, it would have been harder for the company to grow as big as we are now. Not impossible, but harder. From Taylor's connection, I met the Marvel executive, which made me friends with RDJ, and lead to him cameo ANG in my movie, and I changed the plotline for Iron Man 2 albeit a little. Vanessa noticed my gaze and felt sympathy for Addison, assuming I was already crossing her out of my mind.
But I wouldn't hold it against an 18-year-old girl.
A lot of people in Hollywood like to hold themselves in a position of moral superiority, especially those who came from privilege. They were used to having yes-mans all around them, so whenever someone tried to object their opinion, they stammered and couldn't articulate an argument, just like how Addison was doing now. I already met several of them, and wasn't really interested in trying to win them over.
It's Hollywood. There's not much fairness here. Having connections isn't bad. Not having capability, that's the real sin.
If they can't do their job, I won't cast them, no matter how close they are to me, I replied.
But about that old Hollywood-style management, actors branching out can offer more versatility and influence. I'm not restricting my talents at all.
They can do what's best for their careers, even if it means leaving the company.
Alright, your time is up. Mrs. Slade, you go.
Laura exclaimed in disbelief, "Please call me Laura."
Only Laura.
No, I rejected her curtly, leaving her baffled. Addison looked at Laura, her face still confused.
I'm not finished, she said.
I'm not really interested in hearing what you're saying now, I replied with a smirk. Ashley, hanging out with me for the first time, was clearly taken aback by my behavior.
She gasped and whispered to Vanessa, "Is this really the guy you're speaking so highly of?"
"Yeah," Vanessa replied, hesitation in her tone. "Well, at least he's not in his villain mode," she added.
"You're quite an ass," Addison shot back in irritation before standing up from the table. "Goodbye, small-minded Nepo baby,"
I said casually, which made Addison's jaw drop, and she gasped in offense before walking away.
"That's really rude." "Do it more," Vanessa said mischievously as Addison left. Laura, left alone, sweated heavily. I don't really have anything to say.
I just want to get to know you and see if there's any potential job for, you know what, I'll just let myself out."
"Wait a sec.
That's already fine enough," I told Laura before she could stand up.
Confused, she blinked a few times, but Addison tried to antagonize him. "You just spoke honestly. You don't really have to wow him, you know?" Vanessa comforted while teasing Laura.
Laura laughed uncomfortably, "Oh.
Ha! Ha! I get it. Do you?" I asked directly.
"Not really, no," she admitted with a shake of her head.
I chuckled. I'd much rather people be honest about their intentions. It saves me a lot of time.
The studio doesn't have any current roles, we're already stretched out in our projects.
Vanessa suddenly interjected, "Really? Wait, then what about my?"
"You should wait a while," I cut her off before turning back to Laura. "I'll take your number, and I'll call you if there's something for you."
Laura was confused. "Why are you being so nice? Am I supposed to do anything to repay the favor? Because if this is like a sexual thing, Don't finish that sentence."
"What you do in your private time is of no concern to me," I interjected quickly, shutting down her imagination.
"I just think you're a good actor. That's all.
If someone can leave an impression that lingers in my mind even after crossing into another world, I think I should give them a fair shot.
Just like Jack Gleason from Game of Thrones.
He's a fantastic actor, but since he played a villain, he struggled to continue his career due to public backlash.
A lot of Americans couldn't comprehend that the guy was actually acting. That was his job. He needed to be a villain.
Not only him, but a lot of actors suffered the same fate. If they were too good at their role, then it might be the only role offered to them." My words, though kind, made Laura even more confused. The only acting role she currently had was as BFF number 1 in Dance of the Dead, a low-budget horror flick. She didn't even have a name in that movie. So how did I know of her, was probably her next thought.
Penny whispered before she left, "Do you really know why I picked these two girls?" I tapped the table teasingly. "It's not that hard. You picked them because they're a different type than you. If one of them were a big-titted Midwestern blonde, would you have brought them here, am I right?" Penny blushed. "Am I really that obvious? I feel so embarrassed now." "Don't be. It's actually a smart move, trying to secure your future. Just make sure to keep practicing, alright? Otherwise you won't be going to Germany." "Really? You're leaving me behind?" Penny whined. "Well, break a leg."
I cheered her on, which made her slump even more. As she got casted in The Queen's Gambit, the entire crew would be flying to Germany a day before I went on my world tour to film the show there. As the show was set in the 1950s, there were only a few places in the world that fit the settings. After Germany, they would fly to Russia, then lastly Canada. For the cast and crew of the entire project, it was going to be the time of their lives as everything would be paid for by the studio. After Penny and Laura left, Vanessa finally spoke.
Why did you stop me from telling her about the future project? Because that's your project.
It's not confirmed yet, so I'd rather keep it under wraps until I finish a script for you, I replied empathetically.
Vanessa sulked while Ashley beamed in excitement. Wait, you're going for films too? What is it, a movie or a TV show? I don't know yet.
I'm still waiting for my manager to decide, I said, pointing at myself. It's hard to do it because you're so exotic. If you were a basic white girl, I would have done it already, I teased.
Vanessa wasn't offended.
She flipped her hair confidently. By exotic, you mean stunningly beautiful.
I was actually going to say delusional.
I have no idea why I said exotic, I retorted, making her giggle.
Ashley looked between us, then asked, Are you guys flirting?
Jacob, still drunkenly whining in his sleep, muttered, Nuo.
Edward has a girlfriend.
I kinda forgot he was right here, Ashley admitted, taken aback by Jacob's voice. I think you guys should go home or somewhere else.
I still need to meet with a few more people, I said to the two. I wouldn't mind if you want to bore yourself by staying here too.
I'm not going anywhere until I hear about Vanessa's upcoming projects, Ashley insisted with an excited smile. There's this one zombie movie, I replied casually, watching as both Ashley and Vanessa's faces widened in disbelief. Zombies, they exclaimed in unison.
Yes, I'm going to pitch about zombies in a game. How did you guys know?
Ian Grimm, the bearded, buff man who looked like Rob McElhenney, approached me.
He was the next guest on my list. Ian Grimm, right? Please have a seat.
I gestured to Ian after shaking his hand.
You wanted to pitch a video game to me? Yes, it's going to be a MMORPG. Alright, picture this, a game that's not just a game, it's an experience.
We're diving into a world where creativity meets chaos, where players build their own legends in a vibrant, ever-evolving universe, Ian said, gesturing dramatically. Vanessa shot him a disdainful look and muttered, Wow, he just went straight into it.
Ian caught her comment and turned slightly, then focused back on me. Sorry.
You seem busy, and I have a long pitch.
Never mind them. Continue.
My eyes gleamed with interest, not just in the game, but in the man before me.
Isn't this the pitch for Mythic Quest?
Ian grinned, eager to draw me into his vision. Imagine a realm filled with vast adventure maps and unexpected twists, where every choice matters.
Think of it as a digital playground where players can unleash their imagination, crafting stories that are uniquely theirs. It sounds good. How far along is the game right now? I asked, genuinely curious.
Ian flinched but maintained his confident demeanor.
Well, the game is still in the creative process. How many people are working on it? I pressed. Ian hesitated, there's me, and, Vanessa interjected, disbelief dripping from her voice. So you want him to invest in a game that isn't even created yet? No stable structure, no revenue projections, and not even a name for it? Well, there's a name. I call it Mythic Quest. And I assure you, this game will become the most popular MMORPG in the world if we can get it off the ground, Ian replied with a sincere smile. Yukon man. Vanessa began to curse, but I quickly interrupted, I'm sold. Let's do it.
Ian, Vanessa, and Ashley all looked taken aback.
I smiled at Ian and said, I'll give you a team.
I'll even participate in the process myself.
Let's create Mythic Quest. Ian's face lit up. I knew it. I knew you could see the vision. He rushed to hug me, exclaiming, Nice to meet you, partner. He squeezed me tight, patting my back.
It will take at least $1 million to get this thing off the ground.
He whispered.
I'll give you $5 million for seed money.
I whispered back, which made Ian even more excited. Edward Newgate. You're seriously doing this? Vanessa looked incredulously at me. It's fine. As long as I'm working with Ian, the game will make a profit.
I replied casually with a mischievous grin.
Future profit?
It would make over $11 billion if the game followed the setting of the TV series. Ian needed to pair up with a genius programmer to bring his vision to life. He's a dreamer, and if the setting of the TV series actually unfolds, Mythic Quest could become the #1 MMORPG of the decade. I really wanted to play the game myself, which is why I was committed to helping him create it. I'll send you the minutes of today's pitch so we can finalize the agreement later. Come to the company on Monday, and we'll work out the details together, I said calmly. Got it. I'll get out of your hair now. I look forward to working with you, Ian replied, giving me another hug before he left. So, about that zombie movie? Ashley picked up where we had left off. Vanessa fumed. That was obviously a con man. Nah, he's legit, I told her casually. I'm going to report this to your dad, she threatened. Zombie movie? Ashley prodded again, undeterred by our argument. Oh yes. It's called Warm Bodies. It's kind of like Romeo and Juliet, but Romeo is a zombie. I already procured the rights for the story, which is based on a book. If you want details, just read the book, I explained. That doesn't sound very good, Vanessa said, pursing her lips. I ignored her and continued, I plan to get you into 3 pictures minimum over the next 2 years. Maybe even a limited series too. What's the series about? Vanessa asked, intrigued. I'll tell you when I'm finished with the storyline, I teased, smiling at her. As the other guests arrived, I mingled, listened to a few pitches, and even managed to scare off a few girls who declared their love for me. Are you guys going to act together in the TV show? Ashley asked. I thought about it, but I'm too handsome to play a struggling poor man, I joked, feigning a torn expression, which made Vanessa roll her eyes. I'm thinking of getting Andrew Garfield for the male lead. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. What show? What is it about? Vanessa exclaimed, disgruntled. Oh, I think that's the last one. We should head back now. Tell me. But I held off until the end. After saying goodbyes to Pepper and the others, I finally headed home at 4:30 in the morning. The party was winding down, and most guests had already left. Before I left the party, I sought out someone alone. Sal was perplexed when I stopped her in her tracks, just as she was about to leave with a burly man. Psst, hey you, ravenous blonde vixen preparing her next meal. Yeah, you. I called out to her. Sal weighed her intrigue against her lust, confident the man wouldn't go anywhere. Stay here. Be a good dog, and I'll make you slobber later, she whispered seductively to him. That actually works? I asked, shocked, as she approached me. She glanced back at the man and replied, only when he's been teased mercilessly all night. Right now, he's just an animal who knows only how to mate. You know what? You really are like a hitman. A sex machina. What do you want, Newgate? I'm busy here, Sal said through gritted teeth, clearly annoyed as I stopped her from getting some. Don't you feel bored, Sal? I mean, you have skills, a sexy mind. Yet no one challenges you. They buckle whenever you're around. I slowly flamed her ego, guiding her thoughts. Sal fell into a deep realization, I never thought about it that way. Of course not. You don't consider the talent you were born with. You just accept it as part of yourself. I continued buttering her up. What do you actually want? Sal asked, her guard slightly up as she sensed an ulterior motive behind my words. If it's a threesome, I'd much rather your dad join us instead of you. I ignored her and said, don't you think it's time to use your gifts for good? I pulled out my phone and showed her a picture of a guy. What do you think about him? Cute. Not really my type, but I wouldn't mind some caramel now and then, she replied mischievously. Gross, I said curtly before elaborating. His name is Rajesh Kuthrapalli. An astrophysicist. He's a bit broken, has selective mutism, can't talk to women. Unless what? Sal asked, intrigued. There's a theory he can overcome it if he falls in love. So, you want me to fix the defective product with my effective product? Sal replied, using innuendo while running a hand along her body seductively. Rather, I need you to break his heart. I think you can do it. Well, it wouldn't be hard to do it. As long as the girl showed a little bit of interest and was not ugly, Raj would definitely fall for her. What's in it for me? She asked, showing no reservations against the morality of what I was asking her to do. First, his family is rich. So he's probably going to buy you stuff while you date. Date? I don't date. I devour. I don't keep them around. You're going to have to, at least for a month. You need him to think there's a future together. Then the pussy hitman strikes, and you unload him. Sorry, I couldn't find the right words for this. I paused, then continued, release him back to the wild. That's it. I'm sticking with that. I was curious to see what would happen if they actually hooked up. Sal wanted a straight guy who acted like a gay guy. Good at listening, fun to be around, loves things that she loves, and dresses well, though Rajesh's fashion sense was controversial. Rajesh, in turn, wanted someone who loved romance as much as he did. I'll do it, Sal agreed after a moment. I've been doing bad things my whole life. It'll be nice to do something good for a change. Great. I hope you break his heart soon. I shook her hand, and Sal grinned. That's not the only thing of his I'll break. Just then, Sarah Walker, an actual federal agent, caught sight of my mission briefing with Sal and muttered to herself. What the fuck? As I got home, I collapsed into bed, exhausted enough that I didn't need to use my rest skill. I planned to sleep until noon, but at 8 a.m., the doorbell rang, jolting me awake. Groggy, I shuffled to the door and was taken aback when I opened it. Annie? What are you doing here? I asked in shock. You said you'd teach me how to use Excel today? Can I come in? Annie asked, flashing her shy smile. I stared at her incredulously, momentarily speechless. It's 8 a.m. in the morning. I asked in disbelief. Yeah. It's 8 a.m. Annie replied with an innocent smile, not understanding why I might have a problem with her being here so early. Finally, I sighed and said, why yeah, sure. Come on in, stepping aside to let her in. As Annie stepped into the living room, her excitement quickly turned to shock. Oh my gosh, she yelped, covering her eyes. Sprawled on the couch in only his boxers was Jacob, completely oblivious to the situation. I had tried to send him home, but his parents were asleep and couldn't open the door, so I ended up bringing him back to my place. Oh right. The living room is already full. I said casually. Abed suddenly sat up from behind the couch and said, can you guys keep it down? People are trying to sleep here. Abed. This is where you went? Annie asked in surprise. Let's go to the kitchen. You did bring your laptop, right? Chapter 335, Teaching Mishap. General POV. I wonder how many people are going to the gym today, Edward muttered, sipping his coffee as Annie set up her laptop. Annie, what's your New Year's resolution? He asked casually, sitting next to her on a kitchen island stool. I haven't had time to think about it, Annie replied, a slight blush creeping onto her cheeks as her eyes briefly wandered to Edward's muscular torso in his black tank top. Liar, Edward teased, catching her off guard. There's no way you don't have a New Year's resolution list. I bet the only reason you won't tell me is that it's filled with embarrassing stuff, he added with a playful smirk. Annie let out a burst of laughter, shaking her head in disbelief as she turned her gaze back to her laptop. I really didn't write anything down. All right, I won't push it, Edward said with a mischievous smile, pretending to let it go. Just make sure you didn't put it in your laptop, because you know I'll be able to see that. As Annie opened her notes, her heart raced. There were nearly 40 resolutions listed. She scrolled down, feeling a mix of excitement and trepidation. Just as Edward leaned in closer, she quickly closed the app before he could read the last resolution. You're going hard at it, Annie. It seems like you're planning to completely reinvent yourself, Edward remarked, genuinely impressed but respecting her privacy.
Annie smiled shyly. No.
I'm not just planning, I'm going to do it for sure.
But why?
I think you're already pretty awesome, Edward replied, his casual compliment making her heart flutter. Edward suddenly shifted his focus back to the laptop.
We should start. I think we can wrap this up in an hour and a half. Then, I'm going to take a nap.
Annie's face flushed with guilt. I'm really sorry, I wasn't thinking about your rest time.
It's too early for me to be here.
You can sleep, I'll just stay here and watch.
I mean, I can wait.
Edward noticed her slip of the tongue, chuckling softly.
Nonsense. We're going to get this done now. Can you please choose another word other than bang?
It made my mind confused for a bit, Annie said, trying to mask her embarrassment.
Just then, Abed walked into the kitchen and headed straight for the coffee. Pound it out?
Edward suggested, confused. No, Abed replied casually, which only made Annie more shy.
Edward turned to Abed. You're not going to sleep?
I can't with all this noise and the smell of lust. I'm going to edit the movie from last night, Abed replied nonchalantly.
Annie frowned. Abed.
Go to sleep.
You're tired. I already had my coffee. This is great, by the way. Where can I get this? Abed asked, his attention fully on the coffee.
Annie looked at him incredulously, pursing her lips in anger, but Abed, oblivious, continued chatting. Oh, I roasted them myself, Edward said with a grin. I'm not giving you any to take home, he added teasingly.
As Abed set up his laptop at the edge of the kitchen island next to Annie, Edward asked, Abed, do you have a New Year's resolution?
Yes.
Be a movie director, Abed replied simply. Edward paused, then asked in confusion, that's it?
That's the only thing I care about, Abed said, prompting Edward to fall into deep thought.
Abed then turned to Annie.
I can't believe you still need to learn, even after taking several classes and an online course about the program.
Shoo.
SHHH. Annie quickly shushed Abed, alarmed at his revelation.
What?
Edward zoned out, his fatigue causing him to miss Abed's exposure.
Nothing. Abed's just being Abed.
We should start now, Annie insisted, eager to redirect the conversation. Okay, sure. Let me text someone first, then we can continue, Edward said, standing up to pull out his phone.
What do you guys want to eat? I'm ordering breakfast.
Oh, I wanna. Before Annie could answer, Edward shouted loudly, Maggie.
Loch Ness. What do you want to eat? Maggie shouted back from her bedroom, shut up. I'm trying to sleep. Don't call me Loch Ness Monster.
Vanessa shouted too, her voice coming from the same direction as Maggie. A few hours later, at a gym bustling with people eager to keep their New Year's resolutions, Mitchell bumped into Claire as she was running on the treadmill.
Mitchell laughed slightly and said, I had a feeling you were going to be here this year too.
Claire, however, didn't match his energy and continued running, her skin glistened with sweat. Her hair was tied in a ponytail, and her blue sweater was already drenched. Mitchell waited awkwardly for a while before he gave up and took the treadmill next to her. Something on your mind? He asked as he stretched his arms and started up the machine. Hey! Quit bothering her, you clown-haired creep, a blue-haired girl suddenly shouted at Mitchell. Flabbergasted, Mitchell turned to her. He quickly said, This is my sister.
Oh! The girl exclaimed slightly before walking away.
Mitchell saw that people were looking at him, pointing their fingers while whispering, and he became self-conscious. Claire, please say something. People are staring at me and judging me, Mitchell begged. Claire rolled her eyes and waved to the crowd to dismiss them.
Go on.
Mind your own business, she said sternly. Mitchell was finally relieved and started to run along with Claire. As they were running, Claire finally opened up. After we said goodbyes last night, Edward allegedly punched a man backstage. Mitchell was shocked, and he almost tripped on the treadmill.
Because he got rejected?
He doesn't seem like a violent guy. Claire replied without looking at Mitchell, no, it's because of something else. That guy tried to hurt his cat. But I'm thinking that if the earlier rejection doesn't happen, maybe the outcome will be different. Mitchell connected the dots. So you think that the rejection pushed him to the brink, and then he lashed out at the guy? For me, I think it's a valid outburst. He tried to hurt his family member. I don't think it has anything to do with Haley at all. Maybe it has something to do with it, Claire argued, confident that she was right in her guess. Let's say that you're right. So do you think stopping them from becoming a couple is a mistake, or are you sticking by it? Obviously they shouldn't be a couple. Edward is really nice, but he's too, Claire trailed off, which made Mitchell finish her sentence. Amazing? Handsome? Thoughtful? Family-oriented? I was going to say busy. Claire gave Mitchell a bombastic side-eye before she continued. I love Haley. But I don't think she can keep up with him. It'll really be a blow to her self-confidence when she realizes that. They live in two completely different worlds. Edward made the front page of the news every week. He managed $1 billion company at 15 years old. He's a scientist, he's an inventor, he's a world-class artist. Not only Haley, but I don't think that there's any girl on the entire planet who can keep up with him, not unless she discovers the cure for cancer. Well, only if he didn't find it first, Mitchell joked. Claire sighed, as she thought that possibility was high. Let's switch up that thinking. You're only seeing him through rose-colored glasses right now. You're only focusing on the good stuff. What about the bad stuff? Maybe that can balance it all out. Claire thought about it for a while and said, well, he's violent at times. Mitchell exclaimed, flabbergasted, he's not violent. I said at times. It still sounds awful. He's a sweet dude, Mitchell defended Edward. Maybe he can be a little hot-tempered at times. Like, only specific times when his family or friends are in danger. He helped Claire find the right words. That made him seem heroic. You told me to find the bad stuff. Claire glared at Mitchell with disbelief. Yeah, sorry. I'll think with you, Mitchell said, and then both of them thought in silence. After 5 minutes, Claire asked Mitchell, do you find anything yet? No, Mitchell replied with a sigh. The only bad thing I can think of is that he's nosy at times. But he has good intentions, so it cancels each other out. Damn it, Claire mumbled. Haley put on some blush on her cheeks and checked her makeup in the mirror again. Her hair tied up in a sideway ponytail and she wore a simple floral yellow dress with a deep cut. However, as she was excitedly preparing herself to sneak into her boyfriend's house, Phil stood behind her with an exasperated expression. You're really going on a date with someone else? You just broke Edward's heart. At the very least, wait until he goes to Japan. Phil exclaimed beggarly. Haley smiled mischievously and said, he's fine. He's already moving on too. We're both fine with it. Alex walked into the basement bedroom, clutching her phone in her hand. What's with the yelling? She asked. Your sister is being so inconsiderate of other people's feelings, Phil tattled to Alex. Honestly, it's very disheartening to watch. Haley scrunched her eyebrows as she looked at Phil with disbelief. I'm not being inconsiderate. And also, why would I need to be considerate of Edward's feelings? Not Kim. Mine. Phil corrected Haley's assumption. She's going on a date with Brian, Phil tattled to Alex again. Taken aback, Alex muttered with an incomprehensible expression, you're going on a date with Foot Fetish Brian? Foot Fetish Brian? Phil was horrified. Why do you call him that? He asked hurriedly. Alex was exasperated and said, 'cause he likes feet. He kept commenting on girls from the school's posts, asking if their feet were sweaty and if they could send him a picture of their toes. But he's kinda cute though, Haley pretended to be oblivious, which made Phil gag. Phil suddenly held Haley's shoulders and said seriously, honey, you didn't send him any pictures of your feet, right? Taken aback, Haley grinned and replied, not for free.
I made $5,000 from the sales alone. And oh wait, $5,000? Phil almost melted down before his mind focused on the numbers instead. Haley rolled her eyes in disdain and said, "That was a joke." "I'm joking." "So you're not going out on a date?" Phil asked, his eyes hopeful. Haley smiled sadly and said, "I'm going out with Tara. There will be boys there." "All right. I don't want to have to resort to this." Phil suddenly changed his tone and said assertively, "Haley, you're grounded for a week." "What?" Haley widened her eyes in disbelief. "Why?" she asked. Try not answering your phone for the entire day yesterday," Phil said sternly. Alex smirked in satisfaction as she saw Haley's troubled expression and added to the flame, "Mom was worried sick." "You could have at least sent us a text." "I did." Haley was frazzled by the accusation and defended herself hurriedly. Realizing that she would just dig a deeper hole for herself by continuing, Haley changed her strategy. She took a deep breath, made her voice shaky, and her eyes forlorn before turning to Phil and said, "Dad, I just need some time to myself. That's all. Possibly a place away from this house, because, there are a lot of memories of me and Edward here. I just need to escape for a bit. There aren't any boys, I'm just kidding with that." "Ah," Phil immediately became relieved and hugged Haley affectionately. "Of course, hun. I'm just worried because you weren't reacting normally. I thought you were really moving on, and that scares me a little." "Why does that scare you?" Alex asked, interrupting the moment between the two. Phil replied without releasing his embrace, "Because then my daughter will be a sociopath. Don't worry, even if you really turned out to be one, I'll still love you guys with all of my heart." "What if she's killing puppies?" Alex asked teasingly. "I'll grab a shovel, and we will dig a hole together," Phil said casually, then his tone turned serious. "Then, we'll plant some endangered plants on top of the soil to prevent anyone from digging up the spot. We'll move to Miami, where I teach you how to live life with a code. You'll become a blood spatter analysis expert while hiding your true self behind a well-crafted mask that I made." "Isn't that from the Dexter TV show?" Haley asked, fully confused by her father's plan. Alex cackled loudly and then commented to herself, "I guess Haley's fine, but Edward needs to learn how to live by the code." She thought that if Haley wasn't a sociopath, then maybe Edward was. What do you mean?" Haley asked, curious. Alex laughed slightly and revealed, "Well, he's already having a hot girl over. That girl Annie that he went on a date with in Colorado. She's over at his house right now." "What the fuck?" Haley cursed out loud, not even caring that her father was right beside her. "Honey, language," Phil scolded her. "Sorry," Haley apologized. Then Phil reacted to the news, "What the heck?" Jacob told everyone in the group chat after he woke up at around 10 a.m. He shared it using Edward's phone because he was dejected that his mother wanted to disown him after he snuck out of the house to go back to the party last night. He couldn't even go back home for now because his father wouldn't let him. He was being punished by his parents, which made him really depressed. Only after Edward told him that he would drive him back himself and help him apologize to his parents did he cheer up a little bit. After some discussions, Phil decided to leave the matter to Ted, unaware that his daughter had already snuck out of the house during his phone call. Haley rang the doorbell furiously as she arrived at Edward's house, crossing her arms as she tapped her fingers in irritation. As Edward opened the door, he beamed with a smile as he saw her face. "Hi. What are you doing here so early? We promised to meet at noon. There's still half an hour left." "Busting you," Haley said before she entered the house in a hurry. Edward laughed obliviously and said, "Mind your words, there are still some people inside my house. You can make me bust later." "Oh, that's not what you meant." He finally noticed her angry expression. Haley, however, turned incredibly frazzled when she walked to the living room. Annie was lying on the couch with some tissues up her nose, stained red from a nosebleed. Abed lay down sideways in a fetal position, rocking himself slightly as he mumbled some nondescript words. Jacob's eyes were unfocused, and he kept smiling and talking to the air like a mentally ill person. What happened here? Haley asked in shock.
Edward ignored her question, eyed her up and down, and then complimented her sweetly, "You look really cute."
Haley blushed a bit, almost forgetting about the tragic scene in front of her. Then she heard Abed shouting, "I can see it even when I close my eyes. The codes. The codus. They are drilling themselves into my brain."
"What the fuck is happening?" Haley grumbled and pouted slightly as she glanced at Edward.
"Explain it."
"Well, it all started with teaching Annie some simple Excel shortcuts. AutoSum and other functions to help her with her remote job." Edward took Haley's hand and led her away from all of the crazies. "It only took her 30 minutes to learn everything, which shocked her and me.
I guess I'm a really good teacher."
So I started to teach her more." Edward scratched his cheek in embarrassment as he continued his story. "I started to teach her C++, the programming language. She was doing really well, and I became even more confident.
Maybe Annie is just smart and has a knack for programming," I thought.
So I made Jacob and Abed learn it too because I wanted to have a bigger sample size." Edward trailed off slightly.
"After 2 hours, they turned out like this."
Edward pointed at them casually. Annie raised her hand weakly and said, "I can still continue." Edward's teacher's aura from his Karmic Gacha made it possible for him to teach his students at an elevated rate. The skills promised a 300% increase in comprehension ability when Edward taught them personally. An ordinary student's comprehension level when they are focusing was around 30% to 60%. However, with Edward, their brains started to overclock. Not because of the skills, but he kept hammering down knowledge into their brains to test the limits of the skills. As he was excited, he didn't realize that he was slowly melting their brain figuratively.
Overall, they will be fine after resting for a short while.
"Oh," Haley exclaimed simply and her eyebrows ceased to crease. "You're training her on computer stuff." Edward inched closer to her, asking suggestively, "Why?
Did you think that there's something else going on? Is that why you marched over here?"
No, Haley couldn't meet his eyes and she lowered her head in embarrassment.
Haley's commentary.
"It hasn't even been 1 day, and I'm already acting like a crazy, jealous bitch," she muttered with some disappointment. Then, she smiled happily and said, "Still," he said, "I'm cute."
"I knew that dress was the right choice." Commentary ends. /N. Don't expect a healthy relationship between them. It'll be more of a teenage love mess.
Annie and Abed left soon after, and Edward went to Jacob's house to help him face his parents. Haley went back home for a bit and returned after Edward made sure the house was empty, which meant that he kicked out Vanessa and Maggie too. There was some biting silence as they sat on the couch together. Haley suddenly turned to Edward and asked, "So, Annie's pretty?
Don't you think she's pretty?
So, is this how we're going to start our first day as a couple?
We're going to fight?"
Edward said playfully as he turned to her.
"No, we're not going to fight. You did ask her out on a date.
So you must have thought she was attractive too," Haley said, looking a little sulky. Edward hesitated for a bit before he sighed and said, "She's a little bit pretty."
"I knew it."
Haley stood up and immediately became annoyed. "Who do you think is prettier? Me or her?" she asked dramatically. Edward smirked slightly, holding back his laughter as he saw Haley's lips curling upwards. She stopped herself from smiling, trying to keep the facade of the jealous girlfriend.
It's quite hard to compare."
"Try to make a cute pose," Edward said as he placed his finger on his chin, pretending that he was thinking about it. Flabbergasted by his reaction, Haley placed her hands on her cheeks.
"Like this?"
Instantly, Edward's hand moved, and he snapped a picture of her as she was doing the pose. Haley smiled as she gasped in elation, asking, "Wait.
Did you do that on purpose? Let me see that picture."
"Wait, I need to set it as my lock screen first," Edward said casually. His gesture made Haley swoon, and she just stared at him, stunned. Edward grinned as he showed her the photo, and also his lock screen.
"Isn't she cute?"
"That's my girlfriend," he said, pretending that she was a stranger. "Oh, you smooth bastard." Haley immediately jumped on his lap and gave him kisses after he did that. That wraps up this part of What If Karmic Gacha System in Modern Family World. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well. See you in the next one.